Ready.
Ready, okay. Well, once again, we have no announcements. Well, actually we do. The Winnsboro Center for the Arts says that sometime in November, they're not sure when, Adler and Hearn will be performing. That's all they got so far. They think that Michael Martin Murphy may be here in May if things get better. But nobody knows that yet. So that's the end of that, as they say.
Do they know if MMM will also be here again in the fall?
I don't think they're planning that far ahead.
I see.
I think if they develop a viable vaccine and the majority of the people take it, then probably. But until that happens, if anybody's guess. Well, since we last met, I've received many cases of books, and within them I've gotten many poetry books. And so what I'm going to do tonight is I just took a stack of them, about 6, and I'm going to read 1 or 2 short poems from each book and let you know about the book and the exorbitant price I'm charging for it.
Whose book?
Well, I'll get to them as I get to them. There are several. The first one is the last one that I discovered. So I found this one today in a box. It's called 101 Famous Poems. It's published in 1929.
Do you mind repeating the author again?
I don't know the author.
Oh, okay.
A fellow named Roy Cook was the editor that put it together. And I'm going to read the first poem in the book. This is a very famous poem that I never heard of before, but I wasn't around in 1929, so that may be the reason. This was written by some guy named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. You may have heard of him. And it's called The Builder. All are architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. Nothing useless is, or lo, each thing in its place is best, and what seems but idle show strengthens and supports the rest. For the structure that we raise, time is with materials filled. Our todays and yesterdays are the blocks with which we built. Truly shape and fashion these, leave no yawning gaps between. Think not, because no man sees, such things will remain unseen. In the elder days of art, builders wrought with greatest care each minute and unseen part, for the gods see everywhere. Let us do our work as well, both the unseen and the seen. Make the house where gods make well, beautiful, entire, and clean. Else our lives are incomplete, standing in these walls of time, broken stairways where the feet stumble as they seek to climb. Build today, then strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure, shall tomorrow find its place. Thus alone can we attain to those turrets where the eye sees the world as one vast plain and one boundless reach of sky. That was The Builders by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, the first poem on this book of 101 famous poems, which you can get for a mere $10. This is called a book of living poems. as opposed to dead ones like that. It was compiled by a man named William R. Bowlin, B-O-W-L-I-N. It's kind of falling apart. 1934 is the publication date of this.
That was a very good year.
It was. Joe Dan will attest to
What
that.
happened that year, Joe? You were born?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, the first poem in this book is also about building, incidentally, coincidentally. Just make sure it's not 10 miles long, no, it's called Building the Bridge for Him, and it's by W.A. Drumgoole, D-R-O-M-G-O-O-L-E. I never heard of this guy. A woman.
I know the name.
She was an American newspaper woman, and that's about all I have to say about her. An old man traveling a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm deep and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim, for the sullen stream held no fears for him. But he turned when he reached the other side and builded a bridge to span the tide. Old man, cried a fellow pilgrim near, you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day, and you will never pass this way. You will never again, do that again. Your journey will end with the ending day, and you never again will pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you a bridge at eventide? And the builder raised his old gray head. Good friend, on the path I have come, he said. There followeth after me today a youth whose feet will pass this way. This stream, which has been as naught to me, to that fair-haired boy may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him. And the price of this book is only $5. And another 101 great American poems. This was the other one was just famous poems. This is American poems. And this was edited by the American Poetry and Literacy Project in Mineola, New York. You didn't know there was one in New York, too, did you? And it was published in 1997. And this really should be read by a woman because it's written by a woman to her dear and loving husband, but I'll read it anyway. Because I'm reading the first one, not the first one. If ever two were one, then surely we, if ever man were loved by wife, then thee. If ever wife was happy in a man, compare with me, ye women, if you can. Apprize thy love more than whole mines of gold, or all the riches that the east doth hold. My love in such that rivers cannot quench, or aught but love from thee give recompense. Love is such I can no way repay. The heavens reward thee manifold, I pray. Then, while we live, in love let's so persevere, that when we live no more, we may live ever. Anne Bradstreet was the author of that. She lived in the 1600s. She was a colonist in Massachusetts. And was also America's first published poet.
Who was?
Anne Bradstreet, the author of the poem I just read.
How do you spell her name?
Bradstreet. Anne, A-N-N-E. And she was the wife and daughter of governors of the Massachusetts Bay Colony and sired 8 children. That's all I know about her. 3 more here and then pass the podium. Oh, my favorite. Actually, I read a couple out of this in the past. This is T.S. Eliot, Apostle's Book of Practical Cats. I think I read a couple of these last year. I'll read just one out of here. I'm sure. I'll save T.S. Eliot tonight. Since I read from that already. Ogden Nash. I've read Ogden before. This just came in. The name of the book is The Face is Familiar by Ogden. All poems of Ogden Nash. And it was published originally in 1941. This is the 19. Oh no, this is original. This is the first. 1941 it came out. It has poems written between 1931 and 1941.
Somebody grab Conrad's hand so he can't up the price because he's got a first edition on his hand.
It's only $11. It's a real cheap.
I won't take it unless you charge 12. I don't want it.
That's right. All right, the first poem in his book is called 2 and 1 Are a Problem. That's the title. Dear Miss Dix, I am a young man of half past 37. My friends say I am not unattractive, though to be kind and true is what I have always striven. I have brown hair, green eyes, a sensitive mouth, and a winning natural exuberance. And at the waist, a barely noticeable protuberance. I am open-minded about beverages so long as they are grape, brandy, or malt. And I am generous to practically any fault. Well, Miss Dix, not to beat around the bush, there is a certain someone who thinks I am pretty nice. And I turn to you for advice. You see, it started when I was away on the road and returned to find a pair of lovebirds had taken up their abode in my abode. Well, I am not crazy about lovebirds, but I must say they look very sweet in their gilded cage. And their friendship had reached an advanced stage. And I had just forgiven her who of the feathered fiancé was the donor of, when the houseboy caught a lost lovebird in the yard that we couldn't locate the owner of. So then we had 3, and it was no time for flippancy, because everybody knows that a lovebird without its own lovebird to love will pine away and die of the discrepancy. So we bought a 4th lovebird for the 3rd lovebird, and they sat around very cozily, beak to beak. And then the 3rd lovebird that we had provided, the 4th lovebird, for to keep it from dying, died at the end of the week. So we were left with an odd lovebird, and there was no time for flippancy, because a lovebird without its own lovebird to love will pine away and die of the discrepancy. So we had to buy a 5th lovebird to console the 4th lovebird that we had bought to keep the 3rd lovebird contented. And now the 4th lovebird has lost its appetite. And, Miss Dix, I am going demented. I don't want to break any hearts, but I got to know where I'm at. Must I keep on buying lovebirds, Miss Dix? Or do you think it would be all right to buy a cat? Ogden Nash, I love this stuff.
Is it true that lovebirds pine away and die?
I have not known a lovebird, so I can't give you the answer to that. All right, this is the Treasury of Best Love Poems, second edition, edited by Lewis Phillips. It was published in 1995. For $5. I don't think I'm going to sell the Ogden Nash book. I got to read it first. All right, the first one in this book is in chapter 1, which is the world of love and romance. I got one other poem I'm going to read, but it's on my desk because I forgot about it. But I'll go get it from there.
I looked at your desk, I don't think I can find it.
Well, no, you're not going to find anything on my desk. You have to have the codes, the secret codes to find anything on my desk. This is called The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. It was written by Christopher Marlowe. You may have heard of him. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove, that hills and valleys, dales and fields, woods and steepy mountain fields. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers, to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers, and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. A gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair-lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. A belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures make thee move, come live with me and be my love. The shepherd swains shall dance and sing, for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. Christopher Marlowe. I got one more here, but I want to get the poem on my desk before I forget. Excuse me while I walk out of frame here. All right, this is a notebook I found. I have no idea who wrote these poems. I don't know if the notebook just fell apart.
Is there a name on it?
No name on it on the book. There's no name on the poems. They're all in plastic, very nicely preserved. I think they're probably the favorite poems of one of the Fishers, either Grady Fisher or Sandy Fisher, because it came out of their estate. And the first one is called What is a Friend? And again, I don't have a clue who wrote this or when. A friend is a person of great understanding who shares all our hopes and our schemes. A companion who listens with infinite patience to all our plans and our dreams. A true friend can make all our cares melt away with a touch of a hand or a smile, and with calm reassurance make everything brighter and life always seem more worthwhile. A friend shares so many bright moments of laughter at even the tiniest thing. What memorable hours of light-hearted gladness and pleasure this sharing can bring. A friend is a cherished and precious possession who knows all our hopes and our fears, and someone to treasure deep down in our hearts with a closeness that grows through the years. And I don't have a clue who wrote that. Okay, now what you've all been waiting for, the last poem. Again, I don't know who wrote this. I found this in a yearbook from Grayson College, class of 1925. It was just stuck in there. It was one written by about a mom, and another one written by a dad, since tomorrow's Father's Day. Sunday is Father's Day. I thought I'd read this.
What was the yearbook for what school?
I think it's Grayson. I don't know where. Forget
Was this in the Fisher estate?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of them grew up in Tennessee, and I forget where the other one grew up. Anyway, doesn't matter. This program is called Daddy, and I have a feeling it's written by a kid, but I'm not sure. My daddy is only a picture hanging on the wall each day. My daddy is only a picture for me to look up to and pray that I am doing what is right, that he would be proud of me. If he were here in my sight, by the very side of me, every time I look my best, I wonder what he would say, and wonder if his soul does rest with what I do each day. No father could be so good. He gave me all my childish heart could desire, which was more than he really should. Oh, just to have him for 1 hour. Someday I will see him again. Maybe not quite a while, but if I'm good and do not sin, oh, that day I will meet my daddy's smile. That's it.
I'll say about that there was a recording by Eddie Arnold in, I think, the 40s with that same title.
Oh, okay.
And it was a talking thing. It may have been that poem, it may not.
Go ahead, Mr. Ken.
Who's next?
Well, my name is Ken, and I'm trying to be the best Ken I've ever been. Some people say I'm not making much progress. Somebody mentioned those lovebirds a while ago. It reminded me of the dogs I've been caring for. Most of you know that I was a caregiver for Mr. Ed Turner for the last couple of years, and before he died, he asked me to take care of his 2 dogs, which I did. Well, 1 month ago, tomorrow, the older one passed away. He was 17 years old according to the vet. And so the other dog, who's about 5 years old, got so lethargic he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't run, he wouldn't get in the truck with me and ride. So I decided to take him to the vet. The vet said this dog is dying from a broken heart. Well, that's hard to believe. So I took him to the farm where there was 3 other dogs, and he is recovering now, thank goodness. His name was Eli. Mr. Ed named him Eli.
So you think dogs do pine away and die?
Yeah, I believe they do. You know, used to, all I had to do was lower the tailgate, boy, he'd be in the truck, and now I can't throw a piece of chicken up there and make him get in, you know. Says here on this book, I got this book from Conrad, and it's by Frank Mackey, and it's entitled Spur Genius. It's got a lot of stuff in it about range and cows and cowboys and a lot of other things. I've used it a couple of times before.
Repeat the name of the poet.
Frank Mackey.
Yeah.
M-A-C-K-I-E. He signed this book. It looks to me like what it said. He signed it to give to his fiancée or somebody's fiancée. Because it says, Lily Johnson, Frank Mackey, bride-elect of who? I don't know. Houston, Texas, August the 16th, 1942. Real. There's a poem here that caught my attention called Moonlight, and it's a poem talking about sunlight versus moonlight, as you'll find out as I read it here. But you know what? I'm going to throw my glasses. I'm not going to be able to read it very well. I always forget to do this. It says here, I've read some poets who really rave about the blazing sun and found much beauty in each golden beam. But I speak for the softness of the pale moonlight, light of the moon, that makes a fellow want to sit and dream. While the moon reigns, scars are hidden. You then find the ugly stone has become a thing of beauty in her life. Here is drama, here is romance, and these two go hand in hand. With the spell that the moon casts o'er us here at night. To the wild folks, she means hunting or a time for making love. To the cattle, she brings sure cease from the heat. To mere man, she would bring slumber when the day's hard work is through. She does bring all her beauty, none can beat. Thus musing, I was riding, and while that song lay in my heart, my horse, he fell, and scattered dreams so fine. I cussed that moon and badger hole which sunlight would have shone, a million cactus spines I now call mine. And he was saying if the sun had been shining, and his horse would have seen that hole, would not fall. Now there's a word there in one of those paragraphs I have never heard or read before. Anybody pick up on it? I'm going to read it again. To the cattle, she brings sure cease from the heat. Have you ever heard that word, sure cease?
Yes.
That was a new word for me today. I looked it up in the dictionary. It's a real word. Means to resist.
It's usually used by poets only.
I see. And somebody already talked about the fact that it's Father's Day, so I found this here poem written by Amanda Barr about Dad. So God took the strength of a mountain, the majesty of a tree, the warmth of a summer sun, the calm of a quiet sea, the generous soul of nature, the comforting arm of night, the wisdom of the ages, the power of the eagle's flight, the joy of a morning in spring, and the faith of a mustard seed, the patience of eternity, the depth of a family need. Then God combined these qualities, and when there was nothing else to add, he knew his masterpiece was complete, and so he just called his creation Dad. So that's kind of neat. One more thing I want to share with you, and I shared this before. This is just food for thought. Is anybody here a theology student? You're going to know who wrote this if you did it. It's required reading if you're in a theology class. I found that out. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Anybody want to take a guess who wrote that? C.S. Lewis. That's one of his books. Anybody that studies theology has to read C.S. Lewis. Thank you.
Doc, you going? You want to
Down
go?
there.
Going up.
I've got a whole book called You Want to Read It?
I'll look at a few poems. They're just written by me. Alright, so this first one's untitled. And yeah, it is, yeah. Oop, sorry, just take it from there. Alright. Calves moo whenever they feel down and blue. Hungry and thirsty too, being chased after body's pain grew. Hang on. Good. Being chased after and body's pain grew. Bit off more than they could chew. Mama cow loves, cares for, and protects them too. Teaches them when to moo and when not to. Correcting them in the clear. Mistakes being righted when wrong. That's the end piece on that one. Alright, this one's called Italy, and I actually went to Italy, so I'm going to write about my experience. So, alright. While in Italy, my seafood spaghetti was the size of a great jetty. My first flavor to savor was a great gourmet treasure. My pepperoni pizza pie was not a Sicilian delight. My expected brown slices of delight were actually a peppery spice. From my American life, I found my crust to be light. Therefore, I did not fulfill my life. It did not fulfill my life. My eyes feasted upon entrancing religious, historical, mythological art and architecture. As I walked aimlessly in a state of confusion, my English language became a barrier, the confusion of my wandering body. As I walked from the pier to consume a delicious delicacy, upon entering a local restaurant, a pleasant man showed me a pitcher while offering me wine, which I declined as I did not drink at that time. He introduced me to his daughters, which were fine. As we set off in the night, with our friendship standing bright, the flames of alcohol brought one of us to fight. As we returned through the night, our friendship was ended due to alcoholic blight. Met 2 American college women with doubt of my sailing life. With proof, I eased their minds, and yet they left me behind. In all of my travels around the world, their women are the most beautiful, having both natural and cosmetic beauty. As daybreak began, heaving to the lines that bound us to this earth, we sailed off to our new adventure. That's in peace on that one. All right, I got 2 more. Is that cool?
Sure.
2 more? Okay. Okay, ready. All right, this one's pretty cool. All right, Romania. I went to Romania too. I'm doing, I think I said that last time, I can't remember. And I'm doing my traveling pumps to foreign countries when I was in the Navy. So, all right. As we embarked on the land of Vlad Tepes, I had hoped to go on a tour of his castle's museum. While in Romania, found out that my tour in Transylvania was too far away from our port to travel there and back, not allowing me to adhere to our ship-wide curfew. Which enraged me beyond all reason, went to a restaurant shaped as a boat where I asked for fried catfish and fried calamari, had to settle with fried halibut. They were a catch of the day and were out of what I wanted. It tasted just like catfish, however it was bony, which made it hard for me to consume. This upset me for not getting what I wanted, due to being a spoiled American brat. Swam at 3 crystal clear blue water beaches, walked the boardwalk and the jetty, absorbing in its mesmerizing serenity. I thoroughly enjoyed myself there, as if I were one with it all. Experimenting with savory and unsavory, local wines and beers, liking and disliking certain ones. As daybreak began, heaving to the lines that bound us to the earth, we sailed off to a new adventure. All right, I got one more. All right, this one's called Africa, and it's in my book that I'm working on. So, all right. Africa. While in Africa, consuming all the foods and drinks in one night at a local restaurant, which really sucked because I had 3 more days at liberty and didn't have anything to eat or drink those days. I enjoyed gambling, drinking, eating at their 3-story hotels, drank the best tasting wine, which was semi-sweet and semi-sour, which I absolutely loved and have forgotten what it was. Unfortunately, I endured dancing at their finest clubs, drank American, domestic, local, foreign, beers and wines, of course, not liking every one of their taste. Went to a club there, had to buy a drink as a cover charge. I was beyond drunk and said if I drink any more alcohol that I would vomit. Bought a water in a bottle, drank from it, I swear. It tasted like and was alcohol. Saw a young, malnutrition young boy struggling to bathe in a bucket on the media, which truly made me mad and made me sad that I couldn't do anything to help him stop suffering. A young girl and a young boy came on our bus. She carried a dead cat wrapped up as a baby. Felt sorry, mad, and upset that I couldn't help her out, knowing that she will still be there suffering and begging when our ship left. Begging us for money to help her baby out. He played a violin, hoping for us to pay for his performance, actually enjoying his music playing, but upset and not feeling good about his situation, and that I couldn't do anything to help him out. Had a blast at a beautifully majestic botanical gardens conservation tour, viewing plants and trees from all over the world. people on the streets trying to sell me whatever they had, which were overpriced, that I found to be overzealous and extremely annoying, telling them that I don't want to buy anything and to shut up. Met a tall man wearing a red robe, carrying a large walking stick, told me he was part of a local tribe there, conversed with me about his tribe's boys' rights to become men, drenched in my sweat whenever I stood for 5 to 10 minutes due to the overbearing heat, which enraged me. As I stood watch on my ship, saw penguins surfing up the waves, shocked and confused at seeing them there, and found out that they're called jackass penguins because they hee-haw like a jackass. Even went to their suit. As daybreak began, heaving the lines that bound us to the earth, we sailed off to a new adventure. That's it. In peace. Thank you.
I'm a little bit shorter than you are, Eric.
Uh-oh. You had to pull it up a little. Okay.
I had a poetry book I brought with me, and I was reading it at the house. Didn't have a problem. I got in here, I can't see the words. So,
Uh-oh.
of course, this week has been kind of bad for me in the last couple of days. So, I'm just going to read one short one here. Talks about a cowboy's life. The cowboys had a rough life. They rode for hours on end. Herding those cows was difficult. Good weather they couldn't depend. Their days were long and weary. And at night, when they bed down, they didn't have a comfortable place that was firm, warm, and sound. They'd roll out their sleeping bags, and after a campfire meal of beans, no place to take a bath or shower. It's a hard life to be, it seems. But they paved the way to now, when we have it so very easy. In and out of pouring rain and wind so cold and breezy. I see a few guys out there riding the range, just like in the old Western story, herding the cows, sheep, or goats. That is a part of life of a cowboy. Thank you.
See the two red marks blinking. That means everything's cool. Videos.
All right.
You gonna talk about this special day, Showdown?
Huh?
Talk about the special day today for Texas
I guess not.
history? For the fact or the summer solstice or what day of the year?
I'm reading them as
Testing again. My name's Shelman and I've got two short poems for you today. One of them I wrote, and one of them a guy named Jack Ainsworth, also known as, in fact, I think he prefers his name, Scruffy Ainsworth. Jack, he signs everything Jack Scruffy Ainsworth. He's a great friend of the arts around here and elsewhere in Northeast Texas. I think he grew up playing guitar. He's quite good at guitar, and writes songs as well as poems. And a year or two ago, we had a art show in the Art Center, and the title of it, in other words, he and I both, I think, had some photos or paintings. You could enter photos or paintings, either one, or I think sculpture as well. But anyway, the title of the event was Home, H-O-M-E, Home. And Jack and I were both asked by Mary Geisler, I guess is the way you pronounce that, who was in charge of that event, She asked both of us to write a poem to commemorate the event, which we would be reading at the reception for the beginning of the home art show. And we both did that. Interestingly, Jack, I guess because of his background, his poem was about a home in West Texas. And both of them are confined to a single page. I'll read Jack's first. It's just titled Home. Out from the sign of a West Texas town, behind some barbed wire twisted and down, among prickly pears, lizards, and snakes, is sometimes someone's old homestead, somebody's place. The roof is caved in and the floor's fallen through. Just pieces stand still where the late sun shines through. The grasshoppers sing the evening's last song. Just some old boards, everyone's gone. But once it was whitewashed, clean as a pin. You took off your boots before you went in. The wood stove stayed hot, and the biscuits were fresh. The kids said their prayers. Their mom scrubbed their necks. There was a well, a cow, and a shed. A sharecropper's dream and a straw mat for a bed. Chickens for eggs, a pot for the beans. Life hard but simple, honest and clean. Hardly a glance as one drives down that road. Life moves too fast now for people to know that long before tractors, combines, and phones, a man farmed this land, and it was his home. Jack Scruffy Ainsworth, July 13, 2018. And my poem, read at the same event, was titled The Dirt Road to Home. Muddy it was in winter, the dirt road to my childhood home. Dusty it was in summer, that rich East Texas sandy loam. Stark and unpainted was the architecture of that long ago abode. Absent of electricity, no indoor plumbing, a bourgeoisie implode. Built by country carpenters of the rustic 19th century trade. Virgin pine timber balanced atop beam posts of Bodart grade. Wood stove in the kitchen, open fireplace for winter heat. Coal oil lamplight, battery-powered radio, all things obsolete. 150 acres it was, the size of our Tenny Chapel farm. Green were our meadows, break even our financial norm. Unmechanized farming was our lot. No tractor power, only a mule. Cotton for our cash, corn to feed our livestock, agriculture's old school. We made our own clothes, using pre-printed flowers and feed sacks. Chopped our own firewood using a cross-cut shovel and a double-bit axe. Grew fields of broom corn actually fashioned our own brooms, canned our juices, vegetables, meat to supply the dining rooms. Our workday started early. We worked from can to can't. We milked our cows, sold surplus to Winnsboro's cheese plant. Bartered for our groceries with farm eggs and homemade butter. In that era, it was a normal way of life, no complaints to utter. We sang the old songs, made our own music in that bygone day. Pretty Red Wing, you are my sunshine, and my darling Nellie Gray. Poochie, dog love of my life, constant companion, always at my side. Saddest day of my young life, November 13, 1948, Poochie died. Now home. It's not fashion, timber, or defined the location. A lot of living, a lot of loving are required in unique combination. If home truly is where the heart is, it's fair to claim we all win. Ah, and yes, when you have to go back home, they do have to let you in. Joanne Boyd, 725-18. Thank you. Concluding, as is customary, with a paragraph from How to Read a Poem, subtitled Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch. We have another dozen liner or so, paragraph to share. I've never been able to read the line, quote, so in my veins red life might stream again, unquote, with any equanimity. The haunting he seems to suggest would be more terrible even than death. And so you should actually give up your own life to resurrect him. The fury behind this idea is immense. The fury of the desire to live, the fury of the consciousness of death, the fury that some love might have assuaged all this stuff. That's another word that is usually found only in poems. Assuaged. The utter lack of love infuses the poem's tone. What ferocity drives it. Keats keeps the desperation going in this lyric. He embodies it in a Shakespearean rhetoric. That desperation gives voltage to the well-wrought lines, almost lifting them off the page, almost scorching them. I hear it in the beseeching, agonized, infuriated voice. I feel it incarnated in the physical image of his once living hand. That's a wonderful poem. It is poetic, but it's only a commentary on the poem. But, I think, always my goal as a prose writer, which I spent, all of my adult life doing, it was always my goal to make my prose sound poetic, to make it sound lyrical. And sometimes I achieved that according to people who had read it and commented without prompting from me, that it sounded to them poetic in some way,
or maybe they would say, hey, that sounds more like poetry, or something. You know, this was indeed the highest compliment that I could ever expect from anything, any prose that I ever turned out. And I still feel that way today, so that when I write poetry, it's the same sort of thing. I'll make two other comments unrelated to the above. When Conrad and Doc and Ken were reading poems about the Cowboys or making some statements about the Cowboys in their poetry that they were reading, reminded me, I have become a real fan of a little 34-minute TV show on the Cowboy Channel. Any of you familiar with the Cowboy Channel? You ever see the Cowboy Channel on TV? Raise your hand. I'd just like to know how many of you even know about it.
Is it on Dish?
Pardon me?
The Dish program?
I'm sorry.
I got Dish. Will I find it on Dish?
I have Dish, and that's where I get it, yeah. And it's called the Cowboy Channel, so, you know, you should be able to find it pretty easy. I don't remember the number that it is, because I have picked out the stuff that I want to watch on it, and I have my DVR recorded for me, so I don't actually go to the channel. And then at night, you know, I watch I think my two favorite programs on the Cowboy Channel, one of them is, let me mention the other one first, because it's not quite as closely related to this comment, but there is a guy named Chris Cox who is a horse trainer. I would call him a horse whisperer, you know, after having seen a lot of his TV shows. You know, he's just a fantastic horse trainer. And his show is just called Chris Cox Horsemanship, is the name of the show. It comes on every week, maybe occasionally more often, but once a week. And he's a friend of Red Stiegel, who is the other guy. My actual favorite TV show is called Somewhere West of Wall Street with Red Stiegel. And Somewhere West of Wall Street is the title of one of Red Stiegel's best-known poems. Somewhere West of Wall Street. All of his poems are cowboy poetry. And, you know, you can buy volumes of his stuff. You can go to Red Stiegel's website and buy it. You know, he was a country singer when I was living in the 70s, when I first moved back to Texas and listening to WBAP radio on the AM channels. And he had a band called the Coleman County Cowboys, and he sang country songs, you know, just standard country songs. Occasionally there'd be a cowboy song in it, but he was mostly just a, you know, popular country singer. And I remember one of the songs that he sang back then in the 70s on the WBAP, I don't remember the name, I don't know if I ever knew the name of the song. There was a line in it about Coleman County, where he seems to be from, and it refers to the grass in Coleman County growing beer can tall, which, you know, I thought, that's such a great way to describe the length of the grass. You know, it's beer can tall. And then over the years, though, I don't think he's still in the running in the top 10 of the country singers today, but he is certainly in the top 10 of cowboy poets. And this poetry, this poem that the title of his TV show, Somewhere West of Wall Street, he's reciting the poem at the beginning of it, you know, and they have pictures and slides and paintings that illustrate the poem as read, recites it. And then the rest of the show is him on location at some well-known Western place, usually a ranch, if not a ranch, some real well-known Western museum or something like that. But he, and this last one that I saw, just most recently, so that if you looked him up tonight on the Cowboy Channel. You might find this still on, I don't know. But he's talking about, he's interviewing a guy named the guy that was in the Horse Whisperer movie starring Robert Redford. There was a guy that was running the ranch, and his this guy running the ranch is a well-known cowboy singer. He's not so much known as a poet, but he's very well known as a cowboy singer. And he's Don Edwards is his name. I'm sure some of you have heard the name. Red Steagall was interviewing him about cowboy music. And, you know, they did some of the old standards, Little Joe the Wrangler, some of the quintessential cowboy songs, and this sort of thing. But Red Steagall, in that conversation he had with Don Edwards, he mentioned that somebody had, some famous person had encouraged him and other cowboy poets, as well as the singers of cowboy songs, you know, to keep on doing what they're doing, because someday what you record in the way of a poem or a cowboy song may be the only record future generations have of certain events and certain people or things or animals, horses, and sort of thing. It was just a really wonderful conversation, probably my favorite of all of the Red Steagall TV shows, and I've watched, I think, all of them for the past year or so. I just discovered them because we switched to Dish, and the Cowboy Channel had not been on the other satellite channel, and it is on Dish. So I started watching that and the Chris Cox horse shows, and I watch them both regularly now, and I highly recommend both of them. Even if you don't ride, I don't ride, I don't own a horse or anything, but if you watch Chris Cox, you know, you'll fall in love with horses and people who ride horses, I think. You know. And it reminded me of a book I had read many years ago called Traveler, and it was written by a guy named Richard Adams. It's a fiction book, but what it is Richard Adams took Robert E. Lee's favorite horse, the favorite horse that he rode during the Civil War, whose name was Traveler, and he was actually a saddlebred breed, but it was Robert E. Lee's favorite horse, and this horse is telling the story. In other words, this book called Traveler is the history of the Civil War as viewed through the eyes of his horse named Traveler. Absolutely wonderful book. I remember being just blown away by it when I read it 20 years ago, and I ordered it again. I didn't keep the book, or maybe I read it in the library, I don't know, but I didn't have the book, so I ordered it on a used book thing. This reason I just got it in the mail. I'm going to read it again. And having read it like 20 years ago, a lot of things I've probably forgotten, you know, but it's a great book, and I'm going to read it again, and I recommend it to everybody here. Traveler by Richard Adams. And that's all I've got, unless someone has other announcements to make. We stand adjourned until this time.
Brother, Penny Chapel.
Penny Chapel tomorrow night at 6:30. We resume the music night, the praise and gospel night, whatever you want to call it. And it'll be inside again. And we're not going to do an outside version of it. It's inside the building. Open doors. If you're a musician and need to get there early for a sound check or something like that, we'll try to have the doors open by 5 o'clock or so. But if you're coming for the program, 6:30 is when it starts, and it stops precisely at 8, so it's 90 minutes of family fun and entertainment, and we hope business to be there tomorrow night. Thanks so much. Anyone else have any comments or further announcements? Thanks to Conrad for the reviews of the book, the new poetry books he had, and for sharing some of the poetry and letting us know about the availability of some of these new books that are now in his store. And thank him also for being our host here at the wonderful Culture Club Art Gallery. We're honored to be here.
Tomorrow morning, the farmer's market will be on Market Street from 8 to noon. It's been getting larger and larger each week with more and more produce and crafts. And the weather should be fine for the morning.
Repeat the name of it.
It's the Winnsboro Farmer's Market.
Oh, Farmer's Market, yeah. Isn't there something on Monday also?
That was last Monday.
What is that?
That was last Monday. You missed
Oh, it's already done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Tenny Chapel tomorrow night and Farmer's Market also tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning from what, 8 to 12?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Tomorrow's
Stacy Fender does a good job of that.
Tomorrow's the longest day of the year. Well, it's the longest daylight of the year. It's still going to be 24 hours like the other days are, so it's no longer than any other day. But there'll be more sunlight, more daylight tomorrow than any other day of the year.
Get dark for 9 o'clock.
Something like that. So whatever you want to do during the day, this is your last chance. Tomorrow is your last chance to get the largest play time outside.
Fabulous. Okay, I think if there's nothing else, we stand adjourned.
Okay.
Second that motion. I got you, but you're good.
I'd like to help you, but I can't have either.
Do it.